She just needed a shelter to stay for a night. The man agreed, but what she did to return the favor changed his life overnight. James Bennett, a man in his 30s, was the pride of Willow Creek, Loa. A tall, strong, and skilled man, he was known all over the town as the legendary driver. All due reasons and his charmness, always smiling and helping the old neighbors and fellow farmers. But now his house grew dusty and spider nets were woven all over the place. Once a clean kitchen with green veggies laid across the table had turned into a vodka table. The silence was too dampening. The reason? Sarah, his ex-wife. Once the dearest couple of the town. Headlines among the wives. She meant the world to him. Everything revolved around her. James truly believed they would grow old together. All those shared dreams, 2 kids, a big yard, and a pet. It all shattered the moment she walked out that door. No early signs, no fights, no explanation. Just a hastily written note that screamed louder each time he read it. Her absence screamed louder than the silence she left behind. Ever since then, James had been like an empty shell, just roaming around the town like a soul with no destination. Once the beloved of the town, no one looked at him the same way again, and with each passing season came more emptiness. Then came a winter morning, fate waiting for him. The weather felt colder than previous years. James tucked in his woolen jacket and grabbed his keys. The moment he opened the door, he was stunned. A woman covered in tattered clothes and messy buns, dark brown eyes, stood at his doorstep. She was holding a baby boy. He was barely 4 years old. They were freezing and teeth visibly grinding harder each time. Then she spoke as her voice cracked. Please, please let us stay here for a night. Just one night. I'll do anything." For a moment, James saw his dear Sarah in her, but he shook his head again, returning to his senses. He hesitated for a while, but eventually gave in. He reached for his pocket and handed her the key, saying, "I'm trusting your words. Don't disappoint me. There are a few loaves of bread and milk left on the kitchen counter. Help yourself." He added again, "Don't break anything when I'm away." He walked out with a feeling that just remained unsettled. Did he do the right thing, or was he trusting some strangers? The freezing air and frost all over dragged him. The image from early morning flashed in his eyes again and again. Finally, after a long day of work, he returned to his usual convenience store to grab some vodka. But what surprised him was, not only did he purchase vodka, but he was holding a bag of candy. This all was too instinctive. What could be the reason? The moment he opened the door, he was too shocked. The house was nothing like yesterday. The fire chimney clean with freshly burning woods, windows clean, books arranged, pots back to their places, spider nets, where? And in the far corner of the living room sat the woman in a rocking chair reading a book. He struck his foot on the shoe shelf, instantly turning all attention to him. "I hope you don't mind," she said as he stepped inside. "It's just the house seemed too dusty and I thought," James replied, "No, I don't mind. It's just..." The woman introduced herself properly. Her name, Emily Carter in the Noah, 4 years old, small face with bright golden hair and dark eyes. James lowered his back and handed the candy to him. Noah hesitated, looking at this mother as if asking for permission. Then he grabbed the candy, a small smile on his face. Something just sparked in James's heart. Still unaware, that night, as Noah slept on the couch, Emily shared her painful past. She had been a smart student at Des Moines College, hoping to become a civil rights lawyer. But the man she loved abandoned her when she needed him the most, leaving her alone and pregnant. Broken and with nowhere else to go, she returned to her mother, Mrs. Diane. Instead of kindness, she found only cruelty. Her mother's boyfriend taunted her, treated her with contempt, and even tried to force himself on her. When Emily told her mother the truth, her mother berated her and called her a liar. Trapped and afraid, she wanted to leave, but her mother gave her a terrible choice. Go if you want, but Noah stays. She could never leave her child behind, so she endured the suffering until she finally escaped. "I had no choice but to run away," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Since then, I've moved from place to place, finding shelter where I could, but every time people demanded favors, and I couldn't stay." James could just listen, silent but furious. Every word, every line felt like a dagger in his chest. His anger boiled with just the thought of cruelty she had faced. James had known silence this whole time, but what she had gone through was deeper. It demanded more than empathy. It demanded action. In that cozy room, James made a vow to himself. They were under his protection from then on. He would go through ends for them. No one would hurt them again. He did it not for kindness or to win favor, but because it was the rightest thing to do. The following day, something changed in that house. The house was more lively. Fresh bakes and the aroma of warm meals filled the living room. Emily made sure all of them wore clean clothes and scrubbed the maple floors till it shined. Noah followed James everywhere. He would pretend to drive the tractor, help feed chickens. Life filled all their eyes slowly. James felt like his old self again. But now, moving forward, the vodka remained untouched since day one. Nothing could go hidden in a small town. Margaret Hayes, a woman with sharp eyes, cornered him one sunny afternoon. "What is going on, James? You don't seem your usual self, and your clothes don't reek alcohol anymore." She smirked and added, "Must be a woman." He shrugged it off, smiling hesitantly. The last thing ever needed was gossip about them. That same night, a man seemed to be pacing around their yard. Emily quickly noticed. The blurry face seemed familiar. It was Mark, her mother's boyfriend. Following days passed with fear of being discovered. A few days later, James came home to find a strange car parked at his gate. Diane and Mark were waiting on the porch. "I came for my grandson," Diane said coldly. "He's coming with me." James stood tall. "This is my home, and they're staying right here." Emily stepped out, little Noah clinging to her side. "You can't take him," she said firmly. Diane scoffed. "Look at you, no job, no place to live. That boy needs me." Then Noah spoke up, his small voice shaking but clear. "I want to stay with Mom and James." That settled it. Diane turned to leave, but threw back one last threat. "You'll regret your decision." James didn't take Diane's threat lightly. First thing next morning, he drove straight to Des Moines to see a lawyer. The answer was simple but powerful. He had to sign for legal guardianship. This wasn't just paperwork. It was protection, security, a promise. For James, this was about more than legal documents. Ever since Emily and Noah came into his life, he'd been changing without even realizing it. Now he was ready to make it official, not just as someone who gave them shelter, but as someone who would stand between them and any danger. It might be a tough road ahead, but James didn't even blink. That evening, he pulled out a kitchen chair for Emily. Taking her hand, he said, "Listen, I've got a plan. We'll go to court, make it legal. After that, no one can take Noah from you. The lawyer says temporary guardianship is our best move right now." Emily's eyes glistened with tears. "But why?" Her voice broke. "We're practically strangers. You don't have to do this." James squeezed her hand gently. "Look around," he said softly. "Before you two came, this was just an empty house. Now, there's life in these walls again. You gave me purpose, Emily." Noah's laughter, your cooking, even the mess of toys everywhere. It's what I didn't know I needed. I can't imagine going back to how things were before. Weeks turned into months, and day by day, their new life together felt more right. The legal papers came through, making everything official. And Noah? That little boy stuck to James like glue. At first, the word dad tumbled out by accident. Quiet, unsure. But James never said a word to stop him. Then one day, Noah said it clear as a bell, grinning from ear to ear. That's when James knew. This was his family now. Then, on a soft spring morning with the smell of fresh pine in the air, Emily and James stood beneath an arch of branches and berries in their front yard. A handful of neighbors gathered around as they promised forever to each other. Noah, dressed in his little bow tie, held both their hands tight. His face lit up like sunshine when they said, "I do." The old house, once so nothing but emptiness, now filled with life, toys scattered on the floor, and the sweet smell of fresh bakes. This was home now. Diane never came back. And that old photo of Sarah? James hadn't looked at it in ages. Now his walls filled with their photos and the scribbles Noah had done. A family picture displaying love and affection. Remember how this began? Just a scared woman and her quiet boy standing at his door. He could have given them one meal, one night's shelter, and sent them on their way. But that small kindness changed everything. It woke up something in James, a man who'd given up on happiness. Before he knew it, those strangers became his whole world. A child's giggles replaced the empty silence. A woman's love warmed every corner of that cold house. In helping them, James found something he'd always longed, a family. So tell me, if you opened your door to find frightened eyes and a child needing safety, what would you do? Also, comment where you're watching from. Hit that bell icon and subscribe to our channel to never miss any updates. Stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.